Thank you for joining us. Welcome to another episode of Philip Tortures Paul. We've had a deal on this podcast. I've promised that I will read 3 entries of the Red Rising series. We did the first book. I really liked it. It was called Red Rising. Is the series called Red Rising?
No, I don't think so. I think it was like Red Rising Trilogy.
Red Rising Trilogy, but it's already a sextology.
yeah, it's 7.
So I promised that if I read 3 of them, then you will read the second. So this is your favorite series, but my favorite series is the Ender Saga by Orson Scott Card. And I promised, or we made a deal, that after I read 3 of your favorite, you will read the second one of my favorite series, The Speaker for the Dead. And somehow I broke you without trying, and you're here now.
Oh. I think the goal today would be to tell me why this book is popular, or why you like this book.
I love this book so much.
Yeah, I don't get it. I thought you're an atheist.
So we'll talk about this in depth, and I don't think there's...
Are you wearing like magic underwear or something? Like Mormon stuff?
No. You're having the reaction that I always heard about, and I never got it. I don't get why this is a religious book.
I didn't get it in the first one, but I get it this one. This is oozing with like religious stuff.
So today we're talking about Speaker for the Dead, which is the sequel for Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card. You might as well get straight into it, no introductions necessary. But why did you read this so quickly? I thought I would have to really make you read this after your experience with the Ender's Game.
It's called audience capture. You guys have been liking the first Ender's Game video, so you have to read Haunted. Because you're liking that one too. So
yeah. I promised.
Never ends. Yes.
I promised I will give it a proper chance, and I will read all the stories of Haunted. So I will do it.
You can skip the first one. You don't need to read that.
Of course, I'm never reading that again, but I will read all the other ones. We'll do a proper take on that one. But today, one of my all-time favorite books. So excited. Thank you so much for reading this.
This is weird. I just don't get it.
And then you had told me that you are trying to understand it, and it's not like bad, but there's something that really bothers you. Is it the religion? Part?
This one, it was preachy. It's moralizing and very preachy, and once you start doing that with me, I'm switching off.
Well,
don't moralize to me.
Okay.
Card.
Card.
I don't like this whole concept of cancel culture, you know. But I can get behind this one.
Oh no!
I'll leave a link for some petitions at the bottom.
Oh no!
Let's get this guy. I don't know why he's done it, but let's stop him from writing.
I love this book. I think it's a great book, and I think he's written many great books.
Yeah, I don't get it.
So this book, when I was first reading it, I got it after I finished the Ender's Game, and I talked about this is my beloved series. I love this book.
Sorry. Okay.
And I was excited because there was a sequel, and I had no idea what the sequel was. When you heard about the sequel, when you started reading it, what did you expect? What did you think this book would be?
An improvement.
Okay.
But you know what happened? I started having fond memories of Ender's Game. I was like, that book wasn't that bad.
Oh no.
Compared to this is
oh no.
awful. And I was like, in hindsight, I was like, yeah, Ender's Game was alright. This.
So what did you expect before you started?
I didn't expect anything.
What did you think the story would be? Did you think it would be what this was?
No, I had no expectations at all. I couldn't imagine what it's going to be. So I imagine it's going to be some preachy, moralizing crap, and that was right.
No, you didn't. There was no moralizing in the first book.
No,
there was no religion in the first book.
No, that's true.
So
but this one's riddled with it.
No, it's not.
What?
It's not. Okay, let's talk about it in a minute. I just wanted to say, I read this book.
I need more beer.
Quick recap. If you're going to read Ender's Game, get out of here. Listen to episode 25. And quick recap. Ender is a genius child who goes to battle school, trains to fight the buggers and there is a war, and Ender ends up killing all of them. It's basically genocide. And at the end of the book, he saves one cocoon of one queen from the buggers, because they talk to him through his dreams, and he finds this like hidden place and doesn't tell anybody, and he promises that he will find a new place for the queen to have a place to live again. That's the ending of the first book.
Why do we care about the bugs?
Well, because we killed them, is the point.
So? I really just don't give a shit about them. I was like, why is Ender so hated?
Yeah, that's exactly the point of this book. But just to finish my previous point, I wanted to say I was reading this when I was in high school, and I was super excited. I was like, I was expecting to have the sequel of the war with the Formix and the new battle school, and then there's gonna train and lead the army, and now he's gonna be a proper soldier, and the explosions and more buggers and different alien races.
Is this a sci-fi book?
Yes.
I didn't feel it was. What is the sci-fi?
And what we got instead of battle school sequel and amazing Star Wars sequel, we have piggies and funerals.
We have religious zealots in space.
No, it's not about religion.
Alright. Convince me otherwise.
I'll try my best. When I first read this, I didn't think about religion at all. There are religious characters in the story, but the point of the story is not religion. And it's not like trying to convert you into religion, is it? You feel like it was trying to convert you into being a Mormon.
Well, you couldn't convert me into a Mormon.
I'm not asking if I could. I'm asking, did you feel like the book tried to?
Maybe not. Like, I don't know his intention.
You'll talk
but yeah, maybe this is like propaganda.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay. To me, it's about different civilizations, species, interconnected relationships, and what it means to accept somebody to a society or not. There's no religion included in this. For me.
Okay.
Well, anyway, this is exactly what people hate about Orson Scott Card. They always say this. So we already talked about...
Totally get it now. I didn't get it in the first one, actually. I'll be honest, I didn't feel any religion. But this one is like... why, like, how many years in the future is this? This is like 3,000 or something? That's ridiculous. Like,
yeah, so the sequel happens... So Ender kills the buggers, and he's a child. And then he spends some time in Iceland, and he grows up to be about 20 years old.
Yeah.
So I think that's maybe 10 years later.
Yeah, but I mean, when they travel...
And then he travels light speed.
Yes, that's...
And he jumps to planet to planet. Every time he travels, everybody gets older. And it's about 3,000 years at the time.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's like... It's 3,000 years in the future, and people are still believing in the magic man in the sky.
Well, they don't. Like... okay, we'll talk about it. And, for example, is not religious at all.
No. But the colonies were like Catholics.
Okay, we'll talk about it. But, okay, before we talk about this religion.
Alright, go for it.
So we talked about...
Let's get this over with. Come on.
So is there anything you liked about this book?
As I said to you in the message, how can someone create such a fascinating world and then proceed to make it so boring?
It wasn't boring. Why is it boring?
No. The dialogue, and it's so much dialogue in this. And
it's basically talking.
Yeah,
yes.
I don't really care.
And that's why I like it. I like his characters. I love Orson Scott's characters, and he does it well. So you know what the people think. It's similar to Dune in a way, where you actually have an insight into what people are thinking and how they resolve conflicts with relationships and how they think. That's why I like this book. It's only talking. They asked, after the first book was made into a movie, they asked the writer if they wanted to film the sequel. And he said he forbids it. And as long as he's alive, he will always talk against making this into a movie, because it would be just talking heads intersected with brutal violence. And that's about it. So it's that. But why boring? I don't think it's boring at all. All the conversations serve a purpose. How about the characters? Did you remember any of them?
This is the other problem too. I was so confused by the names.
Okay.
I was like, I don't know who. The names confused me.
But there aren't that many characters.
Yeah, and I confused them all. Because they all look like these Portuguese names. And
Yeah,
everything.
yeah, yeah.
And I was like, who the fuck is that?
So this is very much based on...
I was confused by Pipo and...
Pipo and Lipo. Or Libo. I also forget. But whatever, they're not so important.
I just like was so confused. I just don't care. I don't care for his characters.
Also, you said that you listened to it as an
Yeah,
audiobook.
God, don't listen to the audiobook. This is my regret.
So where did you get it? Did you get it on Audible?
Yeah, and it's like, who's the dreariest cunt we can find? Get him, make him read the book.
Did they have women reading it also?
Yeah, they had, yeah. The woman was alright, but the male guy was just like,
Does he have like a deep voice? Like a...
he has a bored voice.
bored
He's like, and the land was covered with piggies, so Wendra went there. Anyway,
I listened to that.
I could do a better job than that. Hire me, Audible. I will read. Card. I can promote your book, mate.
Promote your book, mate.
Nah, come on. I'll do a better job than this. Garbage.
So characters you hated,
No, I didn't remember.
you didn't care, too much talking, was the religion, propaganda, what's the other problem? Anything else?
I didn't understand the plot.
Okay.
It's like,
That might be an issue.
what was going on? There's a planet, some piggies. They're observing the piggies. They
happens.
Some disease. They do this weird ritual things. They turn into trees or something.
Okay, that's not spoilers, but okay.
But like, for the first 3 hours, I was trying to be engaged with it, but after that, I just so zoning out. I was really having. I went back and listened to some of it today. I was like, man, I don't remember any of this.
I tried listening to it a little bit. I found something on YouTube, and I have to say this is a book that doesn't lend itself at all to the audio version because the narrator is kind of monotone,
Dull.
and I think it's a book where you have to take it in strides. Like you have to take a break a little bit. Like I found myself completely zoning out in the audiobook. But I really like the reading. So if you read it, maybe you would think about it differently. Because there's a lot of stuff that this is one of the books that I really felt like you can't put down when I was reading at least the last third of the book. Once again, I reread it after maybe 15 years.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, don't listen to the audio. It's dreadful.
And I was very curious because when I reread the Ender's Game, I was looking at it from a completely different perspective.
Okay.
And I was very excited to read this book. It's one of my favorites. And I still like it a lot. And I was writing Paul, I was like, oh no, I love this book. And Paul was like, oh, suffering is not gonna end. Did you wish I would say we're not doing this episode?
I don't mind a good rant. Sounds like...
So let's do something I did with the Ender's Game in the same spirit of the other episode we did. So listen to episode 25. And I wrote a list of points why I like this so much. And you should tell me why it's not true. Like we did with Ender's Game.
Get me through this. Alright. God, deliver me from this suffering.
So everything that goes on with the characters, however you say they're boring, however you say they're dumb, however you say they talk too much, whatever. To me, they're super relatable. And everything they say seems justified, the motivation seems reasonable, and everything that the conflict that they have to resolve with the discussions seems very realistic in this context. And I really like the resolution of misunderstandings in the book. We talked about something in the past where we read a book where most of the plot was just solving technical problems.
Was that?
It was the Hail Mary project. And it was kind of satisfying for people who like technical stuff to find solutions to problems and figure it out. And this is the same for me with relationships and people mental problems.
What kind of relationships are you going through?
I don't know. So you can really see how relationships can be resolved, and that means other like people who are not connected to you and how people view each other when they don't have anything to do with each other. It's a very interesting way to explain how people accept or don't accept each other in the book. So, do you agree with any of this?
No.
Okay.
No.
That was a short response.
No.
So, other points I liked a lot was that everything comes together at the end of the book. And
why are we allowing these bug creatures to propagate again?
Because that's the whole point of this story.
But, why is Ender's a hero, man? He smashed the bugs.
That's exactly the point. It's the same with Dune, with the sequel of Dune and the sequel of this book. You have this stereotypical hero that smashed the bugs, and the whole point of the sequel is to make you see it's not such a good thing to do that.
We still have, we've had. I was gonna say we've had genocide on Earth, and people still deny that. But here it's like Ender's like hated by everybody.
Yeah,
like, really?
obviously. It's been 3,000 years. How would you look at a person who committed genocide and killed an entire species that you never got a chance to do?
Was it human?
Well, surprise, it's not good to kill an entire species and eradicate them.
How about we wiped out mosquitoes?
Well, they don't have a sentient way to communicate with us, and they don't... We don't know that. Exactly. And they could... if they did, that wouldn't be so good.
Okay. Continue.
So do you agree or not that everything is wrapped up and explained and everything plays together well, so it comes together at the end of the book?
I just said I was so zoned out. I couldn't I'm sorry.
You didn't even pay attention. You don't even know what happened.
He buried the bug green near the lake.
Was there any point at the book where you felt like it was interesting? You wanted to know what was happening next?
I don't know. The world was okay.
Okay.
So the things with different species and how they kind of
the life cycle.
Yeah, that was interesting.
That's also one of my points here. I've never had a sci-fi book where the whole life cycle, culture, lifestyle, and religion is explained completely about an alien species.
I don't mind the life cycle thing.
That's amazing.
Okay, that was interesting, but the religious thing I didn't.
The aliens in this book are maybe one of my favorite. I said in Hail Mary Project, the alien is my favorite alien.
Yeah,
one individual. Yeah. But this is my favorite alien species in sci-fi.
Do you think Orson Scott Card is in his basement, drawing furry pictures of piggies?
Furry pictures?
Having sex and stuff?
No.
I reckon he's a fucking perv.
If you read this book, you would know they don't have sex.
No, but I reckon he's...
Yeah, they don't have any organs.
I know that, but I think Orson Scott Card is
no, he's not.
Sure he is. He's fucking repressed.
Damn it. So how about there's a mystery? It's almost like a murder mystery.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel anything about that?
I was so confused who was murdered and who was what. And
did you feel like it was predictable to solve this mystery?
There was a mystery.
Did you know what the mystery was? Oh my god.
I told you I couldn't focus in this book.
Maybe the spoiler section is gonna be just me.
Yeah, I have slithers of memory of things happening. I'm sorry. This audiobook was so terrible.
Yeah.
And I didn't have time to sit down and actually read the book. Because
for me, it was this is why I like reading this book. It's an interesting question to ask if it's because this is how I started reading, because these books were the first books I really got into, and this is the writing style that I really liked, and that's my comfort reading, nostalgic. I love this. So when I read it, it's easy, and for me it's very engaging. I don't want to put the book down. But for somebody who doesn't know that, is that because I'm biased, or is it a good book? I don't know.
Biased.
I am definitely, but the question is how much.
Well, yeah, it's. As I said, I'm in the minority here with this. I know that. The only part I remember really well was when that little feral kid tried to stab him in the dick.
That was awesome. That was exactly the resolution of the relationships I talked about and how people accept or don't accept each other. That was awesome. That was one of the best scenes in the book.
But I was hoping he was actually stab him in the cock. Something happened.
So another point I have I love how Ender gives it to people. He goes to places where he shouldn't be and tells people what he shouldn't tell them in many situations, and he does it in a very risky place, in a risky way, but he always has a way to persuade people and change their opinion.
Mm.
I love in this book how people change their opinion about things. That's why I like it. Because many people are xenophobic, racist, scared. They don't want to have anything to do with other species. Like in the beginning of the book, Demosthenes, who is Andrew's sister, she writes that, or I guess he, that we are not even capable of accepting our neighbors. Like most people don't like their neighbors.
Yeah. Murder these guys.
So how would we even consider accepting a species that's a different species living next to us next door? That's completely unacceptable unless we fundamentally change how we think and interact with people. Isn't that true?
When you put it like that, yeah.
That's
sure.
the premise of this book. That's the question this book is trying to answer.
So, I hate Mormons. Actually, I take that back. Mormons are actually really nice. I just believe in weird shit. That's what I mean. It's preachy. Like, we can work this out. We don't need a moralizing Mormon to tell me.
There is nothing preachy about the book. The only thing they're preaching about is don't kill each other, please.
Oh. Couldn't work that one out for myself. Alright, sure.
See, but that's the point. Like, they are not preaching to you to go to church. They are not preaching to you about becoming anything. The only thing they're preaching about is don't kill each other and try to understand each other. That's the only thing they're preaching about. Like, there is no religious undertone other than be nice. Like, what is the problem? Like, I don't see the problem.
That's very Christian.
Okay, whatever. Like, I don't care if you call me Christian. Like, I do what I want and think is right. And I don't have to give it a name. Like, okay, is being nice a Christian thing?
Just
Whatever. Like, you don't want to be nice sometimes?
Yeah.
Like, if you meet an alien race, wouldn't you want to be nice a little bit?
No.
Okay, then I guess you should fuck off then.
But the language he uses is so like flowery and this sort of. You read it in English?
Yeah.
Okay.
I read it both actually, Czech and English.
Okay. It's the tone is so. It's preachy. I feel. I just felt.
I don't see the preachiness. And the things they're preaching about are not bad things or religious things.
Tell us that. I know not to fucking kill people.
Exactly.
I know.
Yeah. And you just confirmed that if you saw an alien race come to Earth, you wouldn't immediately try to be friendly with them. You would just tell them to fuck off or kill them. So
Yeah,
that's the point. That's why you need to read this book. That's for you. You are just confirming right now
I didn't
that
get it.
you need to change your views because the message you just said, immediately was contradicted by yourself saying that you would kill people. So stop speaking
I kill aliens, not
Stop
people.
speaking out of your ass and being hypocritical, damn it. You just contradicted yourself. Well, anyway, let's finish my list. I have 2 points I don't like.
I speak the true. Alright. Go. Let's get this done.
So I found 2 things I didn't like about this book.
Okay, I'm curious about this. Alright.
So first one, the characters. I said I love how they resolve the conflicts between characters and how Ender gives it to people and people change their mind. Some characters do it a little bit too easily. Like one character we talked about, it makes sense why she changed her opinions, but it was a little bit too easy. Like she had a really huge problem resolved, and then thanks to Ender, she became kind of a new person.
Which character is that?
I'm trying to see if you get it.
Must
We'll talk about it later. So the characters, all of them have to open their mind to new things, and some of them do it very quickly, so it's a little bit unrealistic, but there is no point in spending time describing how they argue with this, because then there will be just even more heads talking and Paul sleeping. So the second point I don't like is that Andrew is a little bit too much of a genius person, but that's the same problem with the first book we talked about.
Yeah,
He was bred and he was genetically engineered to be a genius. So he is a genius. Okay, so is it a problem?
But does he have to be an annoying dickhead about everything?
But that's the point. That's what I like. He's an annoying dickhead that gives it to people so much that they can't say no.
Oh, well, I could say no to an annoying dickhead.
And they actually change their mind. Which is a nice thing.
Has anyone ever radically change your mind about something?
Of course, all the time.
About what?
All kinds of stuff. Living in Japan, marriage, talking to you, drinking beer, going bungee jumping, believing in religion or not believing in religion.
You've never believed
The
in
string
religion.
theory.
What? Have you ever been religious?
No,
Never.
no.
Okay.
But my mind and opinion about religion has changed many times. And again, just recently, because I was listening to Orson Card, and apparently I'm converted now and I'm a Mormon, even though I don't know anything what that means.
It's not a 7 day. No, wait. Mormons have another name.
To be completely clear, I have no idea about any religion at all. I come from the Czech Republic, where it's one of the top atheistic countries in the world, and I wrote on the statistics sheet I'm a Jedi. And it was 20% of Czech people wrote they were Jedi in the religious survey. But I don't think it's black and white. I think there are things about religion that are useful, interesting, good,
Well, I think we can see
necessary.
No, I think we've seen it nowadays, is where like the level of non-belief has greatly increased, but people have found different kind of
Yes,
communities.
that's exactly what I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Like-
So I mean, technically, I'm an atheist. Technically, I'm a Catholic. But yeah, I don't believe. I'm a non-believer as well. But
And something about Orson Scott Card that I think is very interesting, and I think is a very good point why to read his books, is
He
that
hates gay
he
people.
is openly he's openly religious.
yeah,
And he said in an interview I sent you,
I didn't watch it.
"Oh,
I thought we were going to do the reaction thing.
we can, but you don't have time.
Oh, okay.
Well, you can watch it later maybe and film yourself. You can do it like a bonus.
What did he say?
So that's what I want to talk about. So he said, first of all, that people immediately assume that as soon as he writes science fiction, he left the church and abandoned any faith. Which he openly wrote a book about Mormonism.
I don't think so.
And he said, he described the history and it was very historically accurate, and he talks about religion all the time. But as soon as he published his first book, that was a successful sci-fi book, all his friends and community he's part of were like, "Why did you leave the church? What are you doing? Why are you doing?" And he was like, "Excuse me, I didn't."
He must have no friends. Because I mean, there's a large group of people who said would want him cancelled because of his certain views, own religion, and then the church is like, what are you doing? You're kind of leaving the church as well. So he's probably very isolated.
As far as I can tell, and I have listened to more than 200 episodes of his podcast,
Oh, okay.
I think he's very well set and he's got many good friends and he's a very nice guy. And he talked about how people think of religion and science fiction and how sci-fi is the only way to openly talk about it, because as long as you don't call it sci-fi, people immediately call you out of being politically incorrect. But if it's sci-fi, it's okay because it's sci-fi. It doesn't exist, which is an interesting point, because as soon as he starts talking about religion in his books, you can look at it like a religious person and being upset about it, or you can look at the idea itself and take it for what it is. And that's why he writes sci-fi, because he wants to show things about religion that are actually interesting, and he doesn't care if you're religious. And he says himself in his books, many characters are not religious at all, and he never makes anybody religious. The books are not about making people religious at all. It's about religious people being in the story, that's all.
That's what a person trying to convert someone would say.
Okay, I don't want you to believe anything from the story. That's the only thing I said was be nice. That's all. How is that religious? You can never convince me that this is a religious point. Being nice is not a religious quality. Being nice is a human quality.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. That's all he's saying. Just don't be a dick.
Why doesn't the Bible just say that? Just don't be a dick.
Yeah, that's the problem. He says himself there are many things in the Bible that are a problem. And I like him for this because he is openly a sci-fi religious writer, and he's not embarrassed about it. He doesn't abuse it to convert you. I don't think he's doing it at all. He is trying to talk about it. And I think it's important to talk about it. I think talking about religion is important because people either ignore it, or they are fanatic about it, or they think it's taken for granted. And there's no in between. Just think about it a little bit is what he's trying to do. And I like that. I think it's important.
Okay. I don't have anything to add. I've said my bit.
Okay.
But at the end of the audiobook, there's a part where he's talking about...
Yeah.
I felt that.
So a big part of this book is funerals and dying and what happens afterwards.
Nothing.
So yes, but what did he say at the end of the book?
Oh, like erasing somebody.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was interesting.
Well, it's his opinion, I thought. But so someone who was a scumbag husband or something died, and then the wife, she knew he was a scumbag, and then this is a true story, but he was
he was in Brazil,
in Mormon or something.
Yeah, he was like a Mormon mission, and he saw a wife mourning for that husband who was a complete bastard.
Yeah, and then when she was mourning, she was praising him to say how much of a good husband or a good father he was, because she was trying to erase him.
Yeah, he was watching her, and she was completely lying about every single point of his life.
Yes.
Because he abused her, he beat her, he just left her, he didn't give her money, nothing. But she was saying, "You are my beloved husband, I love you so much, I miss you so much," blah, blah, blah. And Orson Scott, he realized that what she is actually doing is completely erasing his existence from her memory, because she can't deal with it. She's trying to bury it in her subconscious and try to present him as somebody different, thus making him completely non-existent, which is awful and interesting. I think people do that sometimes.
No, I think that people have selective memories, definitely, and people want to remember someone in a more positive light. People do that all the time. Media does it all the time as well. So erasing someone from I'm not sure about that whole theory. But it's his theory.
It's not like completely erasing.
No,
but it's her consciously deciding that she would talk about him like somebody who didn't exist to just get rid of this.
I suppose no
trauma.
one's at like a funeral is going to stand up and say my husband was such an asshole.
Exactly, and that's exactly the point.
I'm glad he's in the ground. Good riddance.
And that's what Enda says in this book. That's literally what Enda says in this book, and that's why this is an interesting book, isn't it? Literally what you just said. That's exactly what people should say, and nobody says it, and that's why this book is about that. People literally said that the guy who was just buried, everybody talks about him nicely, but wait a minute, he is a bastard. And I will tell you the truth. And that's the speaker for the dead.
It's just too much dialogue in this. So much talking. Fucking hell.
So we should mention at least that you keep saying that he's cancelled, that he signed his petition.
I didn't sign it. I just said I'm behind it. I know. Yeah.
So what is it about? What happened?
Well, I think I can defend him a little bit actually, because I mean it's a bit hypocritical. He's following his religious beliefs, which means he's against gay marriage, I guess.
Yes, like same-sex marriage. He said he wouldn't support it. Yes.
But I mean, I don't want to defend him because I don't care. No, I don't care what people do, and I think everyone has a right to live a happy life. But it's quite interesting when you go back and look at certain popular politicians who, in the past, were against same-sex marriage as well. They said marriage is between men and women, and suddenly they change their mind. Yes. And then you don't change your mind. You're a piece of shit. Well, that's fucking hypocritical too. So. Yeah, that's
the thing I want to say about the
people, fucking idiots.
The video that you didn't see. So one point was we talked about. The other point I want to ask you what you think was that he said religion and beliefs and sci-fi, it's all just a way to have a community function. Like he talks about religion being the thing that binds people together and makes them just co-live. How do you say that? Co-live together, live together, cooperate. Cohabit.
Cohabit would be. Yeah, but I think we've kind of moved on from that.
That's exactly what we was talking about. So in the past, people were just savages, and the only thing that kind of fixed murdering each other was religion, if you think about it. And also, it completely messed it up in a completely different way. But also, like, moved it a bit somewhere. Like, if you imagine just savages murdering each other, and then they have a set of beliefs that they are trying to stick to from being born, which is preventing them to murder each other at least a little bit. Isn't that an improvement? And then he said, okay, now most people are not religious, but we have kind of moved to a different religion that we don't call religion, and it's called PC, like political correctness.
Well, that's a one type of
and
religion,
it's serving the purpose of the religion, by telling people what is not okay.
Yeah.
And it's very strange because it's taking only the like punishment part from the religion and nothing else.
I think who's the author? Linguist, John McWhorter had a good book on that
I don't know.
called like I think something like woke religion or something. But he's actually black. But he talked about how this whole political correctness thing is sort of basically replacing religion because certain groups of people are born with sin, kind of thing.
That is nonsense.
Yeah. John McWhorter has written a whole book about that.
Okay.
Actually, so you can check him out. He's actually quite interesting.
Coming up on episode 275.
Maybe we get him on the show.
That would be nice. So I agree with him with this. I'm not saying I'm agreeing that what he believes and stuff, but I agree with him that we should talk about this. Like, it's a thing to think about and not dismiss, like, the religious stuff.
Yeah.
And
sure.
I like him because he puts it in sci-fi in a way that's on the same level. Like every other sci-fi book I read, like he talks about in the interview, he talks about Isaac Asimov, and he talks about how he is just determined atheist. And he kind of calls him out and says that even though he's an atheist, he always has a god figure in his stories.
Like a central computer or something.
Yeah, it's like a central computer. Or in the Foundation series we talked about in one of our episodes, there is the guy who predicts the future, and he effectively tells people what to do, and he resolves all the conflicts like a god, and he's like serving the purpose of a god without being a god.
Does he ever call that Heinlein?
Not that I heard of, but maybe we can look it up.
Heinlein.
So by calling out, I don't mean that this is telling him that it's bad not to be religious, but it's just pointing out that the fact that we always think of a god figure, even though we're not religious, is a thing. It's true. You always think of this like higher power that does something, be it an artificial intelligence, be it a person who knows more, be it like an alien, be it whatever.
Who's your god figure?
I don't have any, but I have a kind of a thing that I'm looking for it, you know? Like, you don't feel like that sometimes? Like, you are always looking for who is in charge, or what's the higher meaning, or it's like a human thing. That's what we do. And I'm not saying I believe in God, but I am trying to see if there is anything. I'm curious about what's happening, like, you know? So that's what his point is. It's not for you to be Mormon. And I don't think it's in this book at all. Like, I don't know, this is corrected.
Alright.
You should keep this in the audio too. This rattling of cans and stuff. So while Paul is dying, I'd like to say that I would wholeheartedly recommend this book, and I would like to say that all this religious talk we just had is not relevant at all, and I never thought about it until I talked to you.
You have a different opinion.
Yeah, that's good. So that's why we hopefully will talk about it a little more, and it's not just me talking about it.
I do regret that. If I had time, I would have sat down and read it. I think things have been lost, but I think I'm done with him.
I know. You don't have to say that.
I'm done with him.
So I still have to ask, because that's the point in this show. How do you recommend this? Who do you recommend this to? Or why would you not recommend this?
This is boring.
Okay.
It's dull. I think I have a problem with his writing style, actually. I think. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, did you figure out what it was? Like,
no, I can't put my finger on it. And that was what I was saying. It's something that there's these elements of the world that should be really fascinating to me. But I think I want to actually argue that I think in some ways he goes into too much detail for me. I don't know what it is. Because I made a comment that a couple of you got pissed off at me because I said that you need a good writer should spark your imagination, and you shouldn't be spoon feeding your reader. And if you lack that imagination, maybe you're just not a very creative person.
Yeah, I agree with that. I didn't think it was a bad thing to say.
That was actually one of Lovecraft's letters that I read. Okay. That he kind of said the same thing. I felt that everything's so spelled out for me.
Maybe that's why I like it, because it's easy to understand.
Yeah, I'm just like, all right, you're telling me everything. Can I have something that I can
That's
think
true. That's
for
very
myself? You. Yeah.
That's very true. So in this way, I agree it's preachy.
Okay.
That you answered final question finally.
All right, I got there.
Because it's not telling you what... It's not asking you questions.
No.
It is sometimes, but not very much.
It doesn't leave me pondering about it.
And it doesn't let you ponder about it. Yes,
No.
that's true.
I didn't read a chapter and think, oh, that's interesting. I want to go back and reread it. No,
That's very true.
true.
It shows you a very specific way how to solve this. And it paints the picture of the problem and it shows you this is the way. It doesn't let you like think about what the way is. So yes, that's it.
Okay.
You did it.
Only took me 3 drinks to get there. Yes.
So I agree with that. Compared to Heinlein, it's very much telling you the solution about everything.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what you hate.
Okay. All right, we got there. All right, great.
So I like to go on record. I love this book. I recommend it. Please read it. Please don't listen to our spoilers. I think the best would be if Paulo read it and told us who's like more biased. You should be on this episode, Paulo. This book is not long.
Click the like and subscribe button, Paulo.
For fuck's sake.
For fuck's sake.
I wanted to tell you that this book is how many pages long? Maybe 300? It's not long. But to you it felt long.
Felt like an eternity.
Can I look this up just for the record?
Alright. Okay, just summarize the plot as quickly as I can so I can go back to drinking.
So this book is 380 pages.
It's like double the last one we did.
Yeah. We said it in the previous episode, but this is the book he wanted to write. The previous
Yeah,
the end of the game is an accident.
it's like a
Just to set up,
introduction. Yeah.
just to set up this and not having it like a lame setup,
Mm.
which I think works well. Like you have a context that's very interesting for this story. If the end of the game was just said it happened, it would be kind of lame. And the fact that it was the whole story that was interesting gives so much more depth to this one. So I appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay, let's get into the spoilers.
Yes,
I'll make this brief, and I'll try to highlight the points that I think are good, and see if Paul remembers them.
Probably not. Peas, trees, and something else. All right.
So the book starts, and first line of the book, aliens. I mean,
Yeah.
so we got the buggers, and they're dead now. So we are on a planet called Lusitania. It's a Portuguese
Settlement.
settlement on a different, like, distant planet.
That's why they were names I can't remember. I'm so confused.
It's all based on Orson Scott's time in Brazil, where he learned Portuguese.
I'm not going to go on the rant again about.
And all the names are Portuguese. They speak Portuguese sometimes, and the cultural habits and things are even like idioms are from Portuguese. There's a lot about languages in this. That's why I like it so much. And they have this alien race called the piggies, or pequeninos, which that means little ones in Portuguese. So how do you like those?
We should be eating them.
It sounds like it, yeah. It sounds like you should be eating.
I wonder how these creatures taste.
That sounds exactly like the first response of the people would be, and I think that's very appropriate.
I mean, they're not human. Pigs are intelligent animals. I love pork.
So,
If I didn't have pork or beer, I'd fly a fucking plane into a building too.
so they're about half our height, and it's like pigs standing on their hind legs, like boars, like wild pigs standing on their hind legs. And they have longer legs, and they have some like protrusions on their inner thighs.
I don't remember that.
They can climb trees very quickly. With like spikes on the inside of their knees and stuff. And do they speak?
Yeah, they do.
I'll just
They're
check
very
it.
I did pay some attention. Jesus Christ.
So how many languages do they speak?
Well, they speak piggy language.
Yeah.
And they speak English.
Yeah.
And Portuguese.
Yeah.
They're very intelligent. They're like pigs. Pigs are super intelligent animals. And we eat
They
them.
have
Why aren't we eating
4
these?
languages,
Why
all of
aren't
them.
we eating the pigs?
Because we're not savages.
But we are.
Not in this point in history, 3,000 years in the future.
Savage. I'm a fucking man.
So the
Anyway.
piggies are a society that don't have any technology. They just live in the forest. But they can speak the universal language, which is kind of English, but they call it Stark language. They can speak their own language, which they have 3 languages in their own language. Do you remember what that was?
No, I didn't care.
They have the male language, they have the female language, and they have the father, like ancestral language.
Is that the tree language?
Yes.
Okay.
So they talk to
So
themselves
it's
because they're all just males, and we never see the females first.
The first part was kind of interesting. Yeah, I was intrigued. You lost me very quick. Anyway, but come on, let's get through this.
And the females, they have a different language.
How are you going to summarize this quickly?
And the trees, they beat them with sticks, and the tree changes the hollow inside
I remember that part.
to produce a different language.
Yeah.
So they very slowly talk to the trees,
Yes.
which I think is a very interesting idea.
Yeah, that was fine. That was fine. I'm all cool with that. It's just the conversations.
So the setup is that people after 3,000 of years hate Ender because Ender is the murderer. Ender is the tyrannous, horrible person who murdered the species. That was intelligent. And we didn't have any chance to communicate with them because when we fought them, we didn't know they were intelligent. And we didn't know they talked to us. Only Ender knew they talked to us. And instead of saying that they talked to us, he murdered them. And that's why they hate him. It's completely logical.
Ender did nothing wrong.
That should be on a t-shirt.
Ender did nothing wrong. Yes. We can have it on our YouTube site. Ender did nothing wrong. And we've been so much shit.
You're gonna be Ender did nothing wrong. I'm gonna be yes he did.
Oh no.
That's okay.
Someone's come.
They already onto you. And we're back.
Please raid.
Please wait.
Raid. I said.
Oh, raid. I thought like please rate us and goodbye. That's it.
We could do that. Okay, summarize. 10 minutes.
So they have these piggies on this planet, and because of what happened with the buggers, humanity doesn't want to have their hands dirty again. So they don't touch them at all. They have like a reservation because the society of the piggies is just an untouched species living in the forest, and they have never ventured to the stars. They have never met any alien species until people came to the planet. So they have made a fence around them, and they're doing the Star Trek episode trope: don't interfere, don't give them technology, don't.
Prime directive
number 1.
Yes. All right.
So they have xenobiologists studying them, and they go visit them, and they talk to them, but they don't give them any unnecessary information about technology, our culture, society. They're trying to have them develop as much as they can on their own, freely. And then this is like the basis, and they start learning very quickly. They learn many languages, then they discover many languages. Then the piggies murder somebody ritualistically, and they lay out their organs on the floor, and everybody's horrified on the ground. So that's the murder mystery.
There's a tree planted in the middle.
Yes.
I remember that.
Yeah,
See,
yeah,
I did pay attention to something.
Meanwhile, Ender is teaching at university in Iceland for some reason with his sister Demosthenes, who is Mr. Valentine, who is pretending to be Demosthenes to write about culture and stuff. This was the interesting part in Ender's game you said you would be interested in.
Yeah.
So I thought you'd like that.
Okay.
So to sum up, Sister Valentine stays there because she finds a husband, she has a child, and Ender doesn't have a place, doesn't have a home. He already traveled so much in the future that all the people he knew, except his sister, died. And
Well, I was wondering about the brother.
The brother is like also kind of surviving a little bit, but at this point he's completely deceased too.
I want Psycho in the story.
There is a whole series about just him. There's the Ender saga, and then there's a parallel Shadow saga where it's about Peter, his brother, and other characters that are on Earth.
Yeah, I don't think I'll be reading it.
I love it too. I will heartily recommend it. I think it's a very unique perspective on both sides of the story, from different time perspectives too.
Keep going.
So there's this thing called the Speaker for the Dead, which is a huge element of this story.
A priest. It's a fucking priest.
Okay, but what does he do that's priest-like?
It's preachy.
What is he preaching?
Forgiveness.
Is he? Did Ender ever say to anybody in the book that they should forgive each other?
No, I'm just pulling words out of my ass, to be honest. I was just hoping that something would land. Understanding.
Okay, but isn't that everybody?
Yeah, okay, go on.
No, I have to get to the bottom of this.
No, you gotta go to the dentist room.
Oh my god.
Come on.
It's like purgatory to dentist myself out of this.
Fucking purgatory, man. Come on.
So the speaker for the dead is a thing that developed in the culture of the future,
Yeah, I didn't get it.
where Ender, because he committed genocide, he wrote a book.
Genocide.
Isn't it the same?
It's
Xenocide, genocide.
Genocide is like people.
Okay, then xenocide. The name of the next book, by the way. So he wrote this book called The Queen and the Hegemon, where he describes what happened. And he tells the truth about every single thing that happened in the war with the buggers, and how the queen talked to him, and what the queen is really like, and how there was no point in killing the buggers, because the buggers have a completely different perspective on life. And when the drones die, it doesn't mean anything, because only the queens have conscience and they control the buggers. And while talking to the queens...
Isn't this like Starship Troopers?
Yeah.
You ripped it off. What the fuck? Alright, sorry, continue.
So there was no point in starting a war, because when the buggers first contacted us, they thought that our people were also just useless drones that are normal. It's normal to kill them and use them as tools.
Pretty much.
That was a complete misunderstanding that wasn't explained until the end of the war. And it's a complete clusterfuck of misunderstanding and cultural clash. And they don't want to make this happen again. That's why they are so careful with the piggies. So the humanity is trying to be extra protective because they are feeling guilty. Ender is labeled a tyrant. Everybody hates Ender. It's like a dirty word. If you say Ender, everybody's like, oh, this bastard. It's like Hitler. Literally, it's worse than Hitler being Ender at this point.
But, I mean, come on, like... He was manipulated.
Okay.
Completely.
Yeah.
I mean, why
also,
him?
And that's exactly what he writes in the book. So he says he doesn't know it. But I think, as we talked about in our previous episode, I think he did know it. But whatever.
I don't think he did. But anyway.
It doesn't matter. He is obviously innocent, but people don't think of him as innocent. Like,
Why
is he
can't
innocent?
you say this in a fucking easier way?
But he did say that. So Ender is a speaker for the dead, who is a person who is trying to resolve conflicts of people who are diseased, which makes perfect sense because this quote-unquote like job was kickstarted by this event where we completely wiped out the entire species. And he wanted to speak for them and explain what actually happened instead of erasing them from history. And that spawned people to be the speaker for the dead, which means if somebody dies and is completely misunderstood, they go there to his funeral and they explain it and they tell the truth. They don't preach, they don't say to forgive, they don't say what you should do, they don't say anything about any Christian religion, Mormonist, anything. All they say is the truth. So Ender's job is to go to the funeral and lay out completely the truth of the person who just died. That's all. I don't see any religion in this. Do you?
Yes.
Okay, what is it? Like having a funeral is a religious thing.
Yes, it is.
But it's also a thing with cultures and nations without any religion at all. Everybody...
Which culture has that?
I don't know any names, but you have to admit that every species who has a culture, it's definitely 1000% people, always do something with their dead. Be it religious or non-religious, be it savage or pagan, be it whatever religion.
What else are you supposed to do?
Having somebody... Exactly. So it's not a religious thing, it's a human thing, because if a person dies, it's an event that's important.
It's rolled me into a hole. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, some people don't give a fuck and they just chuck them in the river. Other people do give a fuck and they do something with them. But the point is, everybody has to do something about dying. It's a part of life.
Yeah.
And that's a big point of this story. That's why it's important. I don't see how this is connected to religion.
This one, very pretty. Anyway.
So Ender is called to this planet, Lusitania, where the piggies are, because somebody died horribly. There's this murder mystery.
Should I even be here at the moment?
No. I could do this alone at home. But you should be here to understand.
I feel like someone's preaching to me. Come on.
Yes,
continue.
I am.
Yes.
And he is supposed to talk for the death of Marco or Marcos, who is the husband of Novinia.
Is that the real bastard guy?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so.
Who is a complete piece of shit person.
Yeah, that was description was like, was he like he was surly before he was drinking and surly while he was drinking? Was, that's like me.
It's not like you.
I wish it was me.
He is the guy we talked about how in Brazil Card saw the wife trying to erase
I
him.
thought so. Yeah,
So that's the
makes
character.
sense. Yes.
So he beats his wife, he's completely hated.
Mm.
We find out that he's sterile and he's dying of a disease. So he has no way to even have fathered his children, which there are 6 children he has in his marriage. And we find out it's not his children at all, and he's just being held in the marriage because of reasons we'll talk about. So he's completely depressed. He has nothing to do. People think of him as being the worst person imaginable. He's called a dog. In his job he's bad. His wife hates him. He's in the relationship only because his wife manipulated him into being in the marriage.
Why don't you just leave?
Yeah, but he can't because everybody hates him. He has nowhere to go. He has no money. And the only thing that's having him not kill himself is having this family that's trying to kind of tolerate him. But every time his wife comes home and says, "Oh, I am pregnant again," he freaks out and beats her because that's the only thing he knows to do, because the whole life he's just beaten down. It's horrible. And nobody knows this. And the speaker for the dead finds this all out and then goes to the funeral when he's finally dead and then tells everybody this, and everybody's like, "Oh, we don't know. This is horrible."
It's a bit of a downer of a thing.
This is very terrible. And I don't see how this is any religion, anything. This is just the truth of what happened. Like, again, I don't see any preaching. Like, is this just Ender going there and saying what happened because the point of the story is they didn't know?
I think it's just the way he writes. It sounds very preachy.
Yeah, you're very right about you not having any space to think about it yourself. He's telling you the answers all the time.
I don't like
That's
that.
true.
Let me figure it out by myself.
But the religious stuff, I'm still not, like, I won't accept it. I don't think it's religious at all. I think the religion is an excuse to say I don't like it.
I just didn't like it.
Okay.
I'm just piling on. That's all.
Okay. So Ender comes to the planet, speaks for the dead. He meets the family. There is the scene we talked about when the children are so messed up in the family that one of the youngest sons literally takes a knife
Tries to stab him in the dick.
and he
Worst way
runs
to
at
go.
Ender and he wants to stab him. What happens?
Just pisses his pants on him or something.
So Ender grabs him and holds him.
And then tries to piss on him.
And the child tries every single trick in a child's repertoire of how to be excused and pitied and excused. But Ender's like, I'm not buying this. I'm not buying this. He's like trying to pretend he's hurting. He's trying to. He pisses himself. He's trying to do all kinds of stuff. And Ender's like, I'm just holding you until you become a person. Like literally Ender says, I am not letting you go until you become a normal person, normal being. Because he's completely being unreasonable, because they had never been brought up by normal family, because the family is completely broken with this guy who just died.
His life. Anyway.
And this is fascinating. The interaction with the family that's completely broken up, and the speaker for the dead being able to resolve this and having the family work again is an amazing storytelling thing that resolves all the character problems. And it was really interesting. That's why I like this book.
Okay.
And the same happens with the piggies, to sum it up very shortly. Piggies are also super misunderstood. And because they are killing people now, people are scared of them. And the speakers of the dead's job...
Is there a misunderstanding about something?
Yes, a huge misunderstanding. It's the whole point of this book. So the misunderstanding is that the piggies seem friendly. They talk to people very happily. They learn stuff with each other. But then they murder a bunch of people, and they don't murder them. They ritualistically cut them open and lay out their organs on the grass.
Oh, that's the thing. Okay, you've triggered. The whole religion, this whole a second life or a third life.
Yeah.
Oh, come on,
that's religious.
Totally fucking religious.
Yes, that's religious. But it's not the people's religion, and nobody's telling you to believe it.
It is the people's religion, though.
It's the piggies' religion.
Yeah, but
Enter
the Catholics.
literally says to the piggies, we don't do that. Literally, the point of the book is, you piggies do this, you have the second life and you have the third life.
But Ender refers
and Ender says literally, we people don't have a second life and a third life. We have just one life. Literally what he says. So if anything, he denies the religion as people.
I don't remember it that way, but alright.
The whole conflict and the escalation at the end of the book is Ender explaining to the piggies that if people die, they are dead. And that's it. And if
I thought
that's exactly what he said.
He referenced something about.
They even sign it in a contract at the end of the book. Literally, Ender has the piggies
I'm
sign
gonna find the quote.
that they shall never kill people in the belief that they have a second life, because that doesn't happen. That's literally what he says.
In the belief, but
In anything, he's promoting atheism.
I don't think so. But, okay.
Like the religion is there, but for the piggies, and it's just a different perspective.
Maybe because
It's not
Card wanted the piggies to be like a vessel for Mormonism.
Okay, I accept that.
Okay, I'm just talking out my mouth, but okay.
That's possible. But promoting...
Because if I put this through the human kind of lens, it's too obvious, maybe.
Yeah, okay, but he's not saying that we should do it. He's not saying it's good. He's not saying it's something you should try to do. It's just something different that we shouldn't be scared of, is what he's saying. And we shouldn't just dismiss it because we don't understand it, is what he's saying. That's all he's saying.
Yeah.
So anyway, Ender signs a treaty with the piggies after a lot of stuff that's super interesting. I love it so much, but we have no time to talk about it, so please read this book if you're interested. He talks to the males, he talks to the females. We learn about how the trees grow up and how the piggies are actually the trees, and they can talk to them. So when they ritualistically murder somebody, it's an honor for them to transcend into the third life, where they become a tree, and the tree can shape itself if they talk to it with the ancestral language by beating it with sticks. And the tree can transform into a house because it's alive. It's a different kind of tree. It's not a normal tree. It's just
I remember
a piggy tree.
he killed one of the piggies.
No, he was required to do so.
Yes.
But
That's
then
what I
they
meant.
signed the treaty, and that was the last time he ever would do it. Like every person would ever do
Yeah,
it.
but he did the ritual.
Because the tradition of the piggies is to resolve a conflict or to seal an agreement, like a big event. The honor is to, with the two people, one of them kills each other and gives them the third life.
Okay.
And that's the ritualistic murder. And they plant a tree, and the tree goes up, and there's a scene where the tree grows really quickly and the organs sprout roots and stuff like
I
that.
remember that one.
It was pretty interesting.
Yeah, that was interesting. Some parts are interesting, sure.
And we skipped how Ender really, one of my favorite parts of this book is how he gives it to the women of the piggies.
You keep saying give it to them.
Yeah, he gives it to them real bad.
But it sounds so sexual.
It's really bad, like how he gives it to them. It's really bad. You don't remember that?
No, I don't.
Because it's sacred to talk to them. They can't talk to them because the women, they don't even speak the same language. And they don't have the same experience. They just live at the mother tree and they spawn the babies. And it's not normal to talk to them because it's sacred. And if a man comes there, it's already bad. And if a different alien species person goes there, it's already bad. And if he talks to them, that's not okay. But if he says something like no to them, that's completely unacceptable. So Ender walks in there and tells them the truth, and they completely freak out. It's amazing.
I don't remember that.
This is one of my favorite, like in any sci-fi. He rationally and very roughly gives it to them so hard that after thousands of years of beliefs and culture, they see a new point of view, which is amazing to me. That's the whole point of this book. There is a culture that cannot be changed because they have been like that the whole existence.
And then someone comes and convinces them something else.
But Ender finds a way to make them see a new point of view.
Like a missionary would do.
Yes.
But
what did the missionary in this book want? Did he want them to be Christian? Did he want them to be Mormon?
He's gotta hide it.
What did he want?
He's
What did he want?
He's been sneaky.
Just tell me what Ender wanted from them.
I don't know what he wants.
He wanted to not kill people. And he promised that people wouldn't kill them. And that's it.
Sounds like a Christian missionary going to a land of savages and telling them not to murder.
Okay, it's a way to look at it. But another way to look at it is we wanted to not kill each other at the end.
Yeah. It sounds very missionary speak.
Okay, yes, it is a missionary mission to do something. But where is the religion?
It's just right there. Just what I said.
What is the religious about this? Like, let's not kill each other. That's it. Like, where is the religion? What do you believe in?
Yeah, because he's seeing them as like savages.
No, the people who are idiots do that. And there has to be a way to not have people murder each other. And this is the way. This is...
Through moral philosophy.
Okay, whatever you call it. Religion, moral philosophy, PC, not PC, women, not women, whatever you say it. Like, the point is, don't be a dick and don't kill me. That's all they're saying. like whatever you want to call it. I don't think that's preachy or missionary or religious.
I just didn't like the book.
Yes, I know.
I just want to find ways to
I
dump
know.
on it.
So the book ends. Ender finally finds a safe place for the queen.
I remember this
So
part.
he puts the queen under the ground,
This is a mistake.
and the queen starts to live again.
Yeah, this is
And
a
they
big
have
one.
an agreement with the piggies, the queen, and the people. And
I don't trust the queen.
we didn't talk about Jane. I love Jane. What do you think
Oh,
about
the
Jane?
computer thing.
You don't care.
No, I don't get.
I love the part how she breaks up with him because he switched her off for a few seconds.
Yeah, we've all been there and done that. Yeah, I was listening to that part last night actually about the whole he switched off kind of thing.
Okay.
And he's like saying, "I love you, come back to me," kind of thing. It's like we've all been there. All right. But anyway, no, there's plenty of the whole queen thing, and she's come back. This can come back and bite you in
And
the
they did
ass.
nothing wrong.
And they did nothing wrong.
Until now.
Until now, that would be on the back of the
That's
ship.
what it is.
Until now.
Okay. So there's so much more I like about this book, but there's no point in talking about it. Thank you so much for joining us. I shall find somebody else to join me on the sequel, hopefully someday.
What's the sequel to this one?
You have just scratched the surface.
What-
You have done the second book,
What's the third book called?
which I already told you. If you listened, you knew. It's already like this is like one of the best books in the series. Then there is Xenocide, is the next one. Then there is Children of the Mind, which is number 4. And there's Ender in Exile. And there is a bunch of other ones. It's like 20 books. And I've read them all.
I know.
So one day somebody's gonna talk to me about them.
Let's get Paolo to read them.
So Pablo, we implore you, you should read Speaker for the Dead and tell us something about it. So we should talk about this again.
Oh God.
Yes, exactly. This is your reason.
I just don't. I really don't like his writing style.
Yeah, I'm so sad because I love this too much. And
It's just something just doesn't engage me at all. I don't know what it is. I do feel some, as I said before, like his whole explaining everything to me.
that's a bad point. I agree with
And I
that.
was like, can you leave me some room to actually?
What I like about
contemplate
Heinlein is completely opposite here. I agree with it. There is no space for pondering. There is just a way.
At least Heinlein had fucking in the books too.
We should
Lots
look
of fucking. That's it.
You should look this up somewhere, what they thought about each other. If at any point it was possible. Definitely Card can comment on
Oh, yeah,
Heinlein.
well, Heinlein can exist as like summoning a ghost or something.
What is the year Heinlein passed away? You know?
That's a good question actually. It's like early 90s, I think.
So then we could have read each other's stuff because Ender's Game was like 80s.
Okay.
So we should do this, but I have to go.
Alright.
So thank you for listening.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you for doing this.
I'm sorry. I tried. I really did.
And next time, something else.
Moon is a house mistress.
Moon is the Archmistress, or we'll talk about Haunted again because
Yeah, I wanted.
I want to give it a proper chance and read all the stories.
Or.
And we will definitely do your favorite series too, Red Rising.
It's not my favorite series.
You seem like you said it on the episode.
Take it back.
Well, anyway, I have to go.
Alright.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for watching.
And thanks for watching. Thank you so much for the setup.
No worries. So, yeah. I'm gonna get drunk. Alright. And crawl back onto the floor.